Hey there, today I'll be spending 100 days in a single-player Minecraft Pixelmon world. This took almost a year to make, which was way too long. Now you might be wondering, does the quality reflect the time it took to make this video? And that's a great question. Anyways, let's hop right into it. Please do consider subscribing, since it's just one click for you, but it means the whole world to me. Of course, with every Pixelmon adventure, we begin by choosing a starter. And this time, I decided to go with Froakie, because man, I love frogs. After choosing a starter, I immediately spawned in a village, which is quite nice, because this gave me immediate access to healers, which is really useful. Then, since old habits die hard, I decided to borrow without permission from these villagers. After some intense borrowing, I finally began my very first Pokemon battle against this Chikorita. I sent out my Froakie and immediately tried to quick ball the Chikorita because the level 10 Chikorita would have destroyed the Froakie. Fortunately, because quick ball has such a big multiplier, one quick ball is enough to capture the Chikorita. Then I tried to quick ball a level 50 Golurk to jumpstart my Pixelmon adventure, and that went as well as you would expect, so let's not show the clip. After some foraging adventures, I found a couple yellow apricorns, which I quickly planted to begin my Pokeball crafting extravaganza. Look, it's time for our very first boss battle. Go Chikorita! Okay. You know what? I think we showed that Centret who's the real boss around here. And since I'm feeling generous, I'll let it go this time with just a warning. On our very first day, a Suicune spawned in a beach biome, but I'm not sure we're in the best position to capture it with our level 6 Froakie and 16 Ultra Balls. Sometimes it's important to show the Pokemon in this world who's the real boss around here. So, to establish that dominance once in a while, I decided to defeat this Centret, skin it, and show its hide to its family. Some might call this a war crime, but a man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. Anyways, oh my god, diamonds! Let's go! We're barely a couple days into this series, and we've already gotten 2 legendaries. Surely this luck continues, right? With the diamonds I mined earlier, I decided to craft a diamond pickaxe. Although it takes me a couple of tries because apparently my IQ is equal to the amount of diamonds I have. Next, I would like to play a little bit of unedited live commentary from a man slowly losing his mind, trying to trap a quest NPC.
What are you doing? Why are they like this?
Please join me in witnessing a moment of Minecraft greatness.
Oh my god. I was so close that time. I was so close. Stop. Actually, please. I'm losing my mind. Please. For all that is... Oh my god. Wait, no way. He walked into the ravine. There's no way out. No! I'm leaving. Screw this guy. Oh my god. Wait, he walked into the ravine again. Wait. Oh no, he's not out. Go. Yeah. Oh no. No. Hey, there's candy down there. Come on. Okay, whatever. I'm leaving. I don't.
MLG! Now it is time for an intense 1v1 battle. Chikorita goes in and immediately gets his signature move disabled. Who even runs disable? That's so cringe. Anyways, kills the first Pokemon, gets into Drift Bloom. Unfortunately, Chikorita gets knocked out. And I understand the situation looks grim here, but let me just tell you, I do, in fact, win this Pokemon battle. And it's so easy, there's just no reason to show the rest of the clip. So let's skip that over. Just know that the level 5 Magikarp that only knows Splash clutches it out, okay? Trust. This cool Ultra Space portal showed out of nowhere, so I decided to enter and check out this new dimension. At first, I spawned in utter darkness, but soon I was able to navigate out of that forest and find this new dimension with giant pillars of crystal blocks. So fortunately, I didn't have to worry about tools again for the rest of the series. I exited Ultra Space and found this cool starter, Fennekin, and I knew I had to catch it. After whittling it down with Shuckle, I threw a Premier Ball, which fortunately was enough for the starter. Look at this giant spider that I caught. You can even ride on it to demonstrate your superiority over all the peasants. Unfortunately, it's not a great mode of transportation, as its gigantic body obstructs your vision completely, and it also sinks in water. Oh, Froakie is evolving. Okay. But more importantly, look at this shiny Krogunk. That's our first shiny in the series. It's our first shiny in the series, and look how pretty it is. The coloring is just truly unique, definitely one of the better shinies. I send out Frogadier to try to whittle the Krogunk down with Water Pulse. I got it down to about 25% before I realized it's probably not worth it to risk it. Then I used one of my few Dusk Balls on it to get the 2x catch rate during night. After a couple wiggles, fortunately the very first ball captured the Krogunk. Then my Pixelmon journey quickly accelerates as I quick ball a Farfetch'd that is level 45. Makes you think, maybe if I had been a little more determined, I could have quick balled that Golurk from the beginning of the series. But unfortunately, too late now. From my research, I knew one of the gyms in Pixelmon was the Grass Gym, which means we have to get a Volcarona, which starts off as a Larvesta. And I know what you're thinking. Wait, didn't he have a Volcarona in his previous team in the previous series? Is this some kind of weird obsession with Volcarona? And the answer is no, absolutely not. Why would you ever think that? I have nothing. Okay, back to the Pixelmon. After destroying this Raticate with my team, I managed to get enough experience to level up Trapinch one more time so that I learned Earth Power, which I replaced Sand Attack with. But more importantly, this meant Trapinch evolves into Vibrava, which means we finally have a flying mount of a Pokemon, so I don't have to walk everywhere like a loser, and we can finally begin exploring the world in earnest at a significant pace. Wow, look at how fast we're going. Everything just looks so small when you're up so high. Look at the rolling hills on this desert. It is truly a good feeling to know how to fly. Holy sh! Pause. I know this looks bad. I might not have a water bucket in my hotbar, but I'm certain I have that in my inventory. So there's really no need for me to show the clip of what actually happens, because we all know I am a very skilled player and can easily pull a water bucket out of my inventory in midair and MLG easily. There's no doubt about that, so let's not roll the clip. You might notice a slight experience level drop in the next clip, and haters are gonna say it's because he died. But you know what? Haters gonna hate, and it's probably just some visual glitch. Don't worry about it. Okay, I have to interrupt our regularly scheduled Pixelmon programming for a quick tribunal. Standing before you is a young man who may or may not have humiliated me in a Pokemon battle. So, as judge, jury, and executioner, and by the way, I'm a very kind, caring, and merciful man, but for this heinous crime, I had to give him death by drowning. And frankly, if you disagree, I do not care. I will drown him. Unfortunately, he can't float, and that's not that big of an issue. But apparently, my 4 brain cells operating at 3 a.m. couldn't figure out how to place a couple blocks. So fortunately, this man lives to see another day. Instead, going back to Pixelmon, look at how many Mega Bosses are spawning near this village. That's 2 Mega Bosses at the same time. Next, I went on some adventuring and eventually found this gigantic village, which also had the grass gym. Unfortunately, this is the first time I've seen a grass gym, so I had a little bit of trouble trying to find the actual gym leader, because there's a lot of NPCs around, but I did eventually find them. Unfortunately, my team wasn't close to what it needs to be in order to beat the grass gym, as evident through this Pixelmon battle, where 1 HP Furret is in the process of sweeping my entire team. It's one OKO'd my Larvesta, OKO'd my Vibrava, and all I had was Magikarp against this level 50 Furret. But somehow the Furret misses its attack, and Magikarp gets its tackle, taking the last HP off Furret and winning the battle. Remember that level 50 Farfetch'd I fortunately quickballed earlier in the video? Well, that was actually a Galarian Farfetch'd, and Galarian Farfetch'd has an evolution, Surfetch'd. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as just leveling it up to evolve it to the next evolution stage. I have to get 3 critical hits with Farfetch'd in one battle, and this is me doing it. I used a dire hit on Farfetch'd, which increases his chance of getting critical hits a lot, and fortunately through this battle I was able to garner 3 critical hits on this trainer and get the Farfetch'd evolution. And here we get to watch the magnificent evolution animation of Farfetch'd becoming Surfetch'd, significantly improving its base stats and the overall capability of my team. The village that I spawned in actually had its own little mini gym, and for the longest time I couldn't conquer this, but with my new evolved Farfetch'd, the Surfetch'd, perhaps I would garner a different outcome. Unfortunately, instead I got comboed by the Ekans. And Ekans. I waited out my cooldown, and fortunately, Larvesta comes in clutch and secures my revenge against the Ekans. Oh, by the way, if you're ever wondering what mutton is made out of in Pixelmon, it's rat. The Raticate dropped cooked mutton. Excuse me. I was eating that. In a recent Pixelmon update, they changed how you craft Pokeballs so that it would require more precious metals for important balls like the Ultra Balls or Dusk Balls. Unfortunately, the metal used, platinum, is extraordinarily rare, so instead of crafting Ultra Balls or Dusk Balls, I decided to engage in capitalism. Here you see me catching a bunch of Meowths, which can have the ability Pickup, which means that they have a chance of getting an item every time I fight a wild Pokemon. That item can then be sold to shopkeepers, and then I can use the money to buy balls from the shopkeepers. Not to mention that Meowths can also learn a move called Payday, which gives you $500 every time you use the move. Please enjoy this short montage of me subjecting the local wildlife to the painful deaths of being hit by 1,000 coins. All for a little bit of economic gain. Truly the epitome of capitalism. After the slaughter of countless Pokemon, I was finally able to summon the cash to purchase the Pokeballs I needed. A worthy sacrifice, by any means of the measure. Look, man, what was I supposed to do? Be an upstanding man for his actual morals? Nah, I'm not about to grind. The first gym I wanted to challenge was the Grass Gym, and though I already had a very strong solo carry Pokemon in the Volcarona, I thought I still needed a little more to my team, which is why I went to the desert and picked up this Torkoal. Torkoal has the ability Drought, which sets sun whenever it enters the field. This boosts the fire attacks of my Volcarona, which further increases my chance of destroying that gym. On the way back from the desert, I found this really cool boss Magmar that I decided to challenge. I set out Pelipper first to set a rain, so hopefully its fire attacks wouldn't do as much damage on the rest of my team. Unfortunately, that didn't work as expected, and I got swept by the Magmar anyways because of the massive level difference between the Magmar and most of my Pokemon. The only thing that I had that was even close was the Surf Engine, and frankly, it was just not powerful enough. On my adventures, I discovered my very first raid, and I decided to send out Torkoal to try it against this mystery water type, which turned out to be this Love Disc, which is extraordinarily weak, about what you would expect for a 2-star raid, I guess.
But me and my NPC friends were able to quickly destroy the love disc very quickly and get the rewards, which were a little underwhelming. After taking the time to train up my team a little bit and level it up, I was finally ready to take on the big boss of the mini gym in my hometown. This level 40 trainer, which sent out a Ufazant immediately. I sent out Torkoal to combat the Ufazant, but Torkoal did not fare nearly as well as I expected. Sirfetch'd came in, OKO'd the Ufazant, OKO'd the next Pokemon. Then I decided to Sword Dance into the Arbok to set up on the rest of the team. Because I thought Arbok couldn't do that much damage as it was a pretty weak Pokemon. Then I was able to pretty much sweep the rest of the team very easily with the third Sirfetch'd. The evolution with the 3 critical hits really played a great role in this overwhelming victory. For this incredible feat, I got 64 whole Pokédollars. Yes, call me Bezos. In my process for creating my team for the grass gym, I ran into a big problem. It is really hard to get levels on your Pokemon. However, after a lot of trial and error, I finally found a decent solution, and here you see me enacting it. First, I find an unsuspecting trainer. I trap them in a gigantic hole in the ground, and I battle them over and over and over again. As long as I forfeit the battle before I defeat every single Pokemon that the trainer has, I can keep recycling this process for what is essentially infinite XP. Yes, it is extremely boring. I have to grind, doing nothing but click the same moves against the same Pokemon over and over again, and forfeiting. But it is far faster than any other EXP gaining method that I was able to find in single player. So it is what it is. And for those of you who are worried about the trainer, trust me, they are 100% on board with this. Before I trap them in a hole, I ask them to blink twice if they don't want to be stuck in a hole forever for the rest of their lives. And believe it or not, nobody ever blinks. Now, could this be because trainers are not programmed to blink? Who's to say? I didn't make them. Now please enjoy this squeaky, super sped up section of me grinding away to get EXP for my Pokemon on this level 45 trainer that I found. Not gonna lie, the Pixelmon Combat OST kinda sounds fire at 5 XP. And I know kids these days have very short attention spans, so for you to get through this section, I brought you some help. Subway Surfers, baby! After a very long time of painstakingly grinding with this trainer, I was finally able to get Larvesta, the core of our grass gym team, to level 59, which then prompted its evolution into Volcarona and learning one of the most important moves for the Volcarona set, Quiver Dance, which increases special attack, special defense, and speed by 1 stage. I take a second to test out the new Volcarona on my trapped trainer, and it did quite well, so I decided to go into the grass gym. So, without further ado, here is my grass gym fight. First, as I promised, I sent out Torkoal in order to activate its drought ability and set the weather to be sun so that later fire attacks will do more damage. I had assumed that because Torkoal is such a low level, it would get knocked out very quickly. Unfortunately, the opponent decided to use Ferrothorn to set up Stealth Rocks, which will be doing 50% to my Volcarona, as it does not have heavy duty boots. Also, I don't know what is going on here. Rillaboom is basically just trolling with Glassy Slide, so that Torkoal actually is able to almost take out Rillaboom before getting knocked out. The problem with this is that this is grinding turns away on my sun, and Volcarona will not have as many turns in the sun to get that boosted fire damage. I do a Quiver Dance because I know Rillaboom has been burnt and will die regardless of whether Volcarona attacks or not, and I want those status boosts. Then the opponent sends out Ferrothorn once again. I take a second to think between Bug Buzz and Fire Blast because unfortunately I'm running Fire Blast on the Volcarona, which is not ideal as Fire Blast has an 85% hit accuracy, and
I will have to be really careful. Next, the opponent sends out a Moongus, which puts my Volcarona to sleep, which actually makes me panic a little bit because I didn't know what to do in that situation. Fortunately, I remembered that I actually carried Blue Flute, which, when played, removes the sleep status condition. So with that, I was able to take down a Moongus pretty easily. I take Bug Buzz to the Trevenant because I didn't want to risk the 85% accuracy with Fire Blast, and I just spam Bug Buzz. Unfortunately, Trevenant is quite tanky and almost takes down Volcarona, but Fire Blast OKOs Tapu Lulu and Fire Blast OKOs Rotom. I get 2 very lucky rolls and get both Fire Blasts to hit. And with that, I defeat the Grass Gym, even though my Volcarona has a very subpar moveset in running Fire Blast instead of Fiery Dance or Flamethrower. After defeating the Grass Gym, I've decided that perhaps I've overstayed my welcome. I should stop leeching off the Poke Center building in the village that I spawned in. I found a pretty nice beachside area and decided to begin construction of my mansion. As you can see from these ugly beginnings, I'm not the greatest at building though. So after placing a couple dozen blocks, I decided to quit and go to the Ultra Space instead. And wow, was it a worth it decision, because just merely a few minutes into my adventure in the Ultra Space, I found this Pheromosa, which is a Ultra Beast and an incredibly good Pokemon. I hit it with a Bug Buzz and it barely survives with 2.5% HP. If I had just gotten a slightly worse roll, that would have OKO'd the Pheromosa, but fortunately, I was slightly lucky. I quickly substitute out Volcarona because Volcarona has the ability Flame Body, which could cause a burn on Pheromosa, as Pheromosa always uses contact moves. Instead, I sent out Surfetched, and I was able to capture the Pheromosa pretty easily after a couple Ultra Balls. And that is quite exciting, as Ultra Beasts significantly improve our team and makes further gyms a lot easier because of their raw strength. I was flying around the very same desert when I spotted a gigantic building in the distance. That's a Stakataka, another Ultra Beast. Not as good as Pheromosa, but still rather viable for our team. It does a little spinny dance, and I immediately engage in battle to try to catch the Stakataka. This catch was actually significantly harder than the Pheromosa because it was a little harder to figure out the moves that I needed to whittle down Stakataka. And this Stakataka was actually quite stubborn in not getting in any of my Pokeballs. So it took me quite an amount of tries, and I had to leave it at 19% HP because anything less, I would risk killing it. Perhaps that hampered the catching process a little bit, or maybe I was just unlucky. But regardless, it took a lot of balls to capture that Stakataka. And I really did want to spend more time in the Ultra Space. Unfortunately, this boss Spinarch wiped my entire team and sent me back to the overworld, which is what happens when all your Pokemon faint in the Ultra Space. You get sent back to your last spawn. Fortunately, my last spawn was close to this Poke Center in the beginning village that I spawned in, so I could heal up my Pokemon and fly away in my Volcarona. Otherwise, it would have been a pain in the butt to walk wherever I needed to be. Around this time, I realized after a little bit of research that I needed to start getting quest NPCs in order to get the Dynamax quest, Shooting Stars. And yes, maybe I trapped an entire gigantic village of NPCs in dirt 1x1s, but it's for the greater good, so honestly, it's a worthy sacrifice, and I'm sure they agreed to it anyways, even though maybe I didn't ask them at all, but don't worry about it. Look how much they want to be in dirt 1x1s, by the way. This NPC just ran in with their other friends, so I can all put them in the same enclosure and use a little less dirt. They want to be enclosed in small areas instead of roaming freely. Trust me, I know how to speak NPC. Oh, look what time it is. It's time for our very first legendary. I was FKing after building the house a little bit, and this Mesprit spawned in the ocean right next to our house. And this will be our very first legendary capture. Though not the greatest of Pokemon, a Mesprit is still very solid. I send out Pheromosa, that we recently acquired on our Ultra Space adventures and began using fighting moves. Unfortunately, Pheromosa got OKO'd immediately by a psychic move, which is super effective. I then sent out Stack Attacka because I assume Stack Attacka doesn't have the greatest of attacks or the greatest of base stats. I hit Mesprit with Rock Blast, which then Mesprit reveals to have Rest, which is just the most painful move you could have for a Pokemon that you're trying to capture, because you'll whittle it down to like 5-10 HP and you'll be like, yes, I can finally catch it. But then one rest later and it's back to full health and you have to start from square one as it whittles down each and every one of your Pokemon. It is so painful to deal with. And fortunately though, every time they do use rest, they do fall asleep, which increases catch chances, I guess. But as you can see, it takes me a lot of balls, and the time has gone to night, so I can use dust balls at this point, which is fortunate but unfortunate. Dust balls do have a higher chance of catch rate, and fortunately I was able to catch it. And it even came with a little tag, Mesprit the Sleepy, so I guess it was quite worth it in the end. Unfortunately, after I withdrew Mesprit from my PC, took it in my inventory, and checked its stats, it had Brave, which means it reduces speed, which is really important, and increases attack, which is worthless for Mesprit. It makes it the worst nature possible. But whatever, a legendary is a legendary. Now here's my fight with the very first legendary boss, and the very first mega boss, actually, that I'm fighting in this series. Fortunately, I was able to get it to burn from Flame Body on the Volcarona, and this burn becomes monumental for beating this legendary boss, because a lot of my Pokemon has Protect, and that just turns into free damage onto the Metachamp. Otherwise, it would probably almost completely OKO sweep every single one of my Pokemon. Instead, I was able to basically stall this out and kill Metachamp with the burn. I send out Pheromosa, and you think Pheromosa will survive a little bit, but you're absolutely wrong. I even hesitated a little in thinking about which move would be the best for Pheromosa, but in the end it did not matter at all because Metachamp just hit it with one move and Pheromosa is out of the game. Then I use Stack Attacka, which has Protect, which really carries, because otherwise Stack Attacka doesn't stand a chance. I think about using one of Stack Attacka's damaging moves and go for it. Fortunately, Stack Attacka does tank it and get the last damaging move in and takes out the last 1% of the Mega Metachamp. And for that, I get a Mega Stone, very first one. And now I got these cool glasses and can activate Mega Evolution if I have the right mod and the right stone. I was hanging out in the same mountains biome, and a Entei has spawned. Not the rarest of legendaries, but still a very good Pokemon, and I decided to go for it. Unfortunately, my Stack Attacka is at 1 HP from mostly the Mega Metachamp battle, and the only healthy mon that I had left was Surfetched, which, though very good and has been carrying a lot of my fights, was just not enough for an entire Entei capture, because I needed it to tank so many hits as I throw Ultra Ball after Ultra Ball at the Entei. Also, I didn't have a healer on me, nor was I close to a Poke Center. So after getting absolutely obliterated by this Entei and wiping out my entire team, I had no choice but to walk back home to the Poke Center and let the Entei despawn. Not to mention that Volcarona was knocked out, and Volcarona is my flying Pokemon. So I had to walk the whole way back to my base instead of flying there like a true Giga Chad. Truly a very painful day. I even tried throwing an Ultra Ball at it just for giggles. Obviously that didn't work. Unfortunate.
Sometimes I wish Poke Centers were breakable. That would make this game a lot more convenient. Well, after I failed that Entei capture attempt, I went back home, healed up my Pokemon, and headed back into the Ultra Space through a portal I found. In the Ultra Space, I was able to find a Celesteela, and this is my process of catching it. First, I threw out a fellow Ultra Beast, a Pheromosa, to try to whittle down the health of the Celesteela. After thinking for a while, I decided to use Double Kick as the main method of whittling down its health. So, since Celesteela is Iron/Flying, double kick is normal effectiveness, and it didn't do that much damage because it's a pretty weak move. So I was able to whittle down Celesteela pretty comfortably down to 9.6% health. Then I started tossing balls at it. And somehow the very first Ultra Ball, after whittling it down, was able to capture the Celesteela. And fortunately, my luck kept on giving that day because after just wandering around a little bit, a Kartana spawned, another Ultra Beast. I did the same strategy by sending out a Pheromosa, which was slightly damaged from the Celesteela fight. And instead of going with double kick this time, I decided to go with Bug Bite, since double kick is super effective against Kartana, so might have killed it in 1 or 2 shots. I almost accidentally KO'd the Kartana because the Bug Bite actually critical hits, but fortunately I was pretty lucky and it ended up with just a sliver of HP, which was perfect for a capture. With 11.3%, Kartana was solidly in the red, and I tossed out an Ultra Ball. 1, 2, 3, and 4 shakes, and that is Kartana captured on the first Ultra Ball as well. I'm just getting so lucky today. In the Ultra Space, a lot of Shuckles actually spawned. So while I was in the Ultra Space, especially the deep ocean biome, I went on a huge Shuckle hunting spree, as you can see now, to get enough Shulker shells to make Shulker boxes, which increase my carrying capacity. Brutal, perhaps, but that is the world of Pixelmon. After adventuring a little bit in the deep, ultra deep sea biome of the Ultra Space, I discovered that every Beast Ball Pokeloot comes in one of these little temples with a Soul Flame Lantern. Since these Pokeloots had a great chance of giving plates, which is necessary for summoning Arceus, I went on a long journey, capturing extraordinary amounts of Pokeloots in these various temples. And this is the montage. While I let that very interesting montage play in the background, I want to rant about something really quickly. If you look at this entire montage, you will notice something quite peculiar. I only selected some of the most important elements of the montage to show because I was too lazy to edit every single Beast Ball. But you will notice that you don't see me get an insect plate until the very end, because I never did get an insect plate until the very end. It took me 77 other plates to get an insect plate. Do you understand how absurd that is? There's only 17 possible plates. That means I rolled the dice on and I got 16, the other 16 out of the 17 plates 77 times. If you do the math, that is 1% likelihood. It's pretty simple math. It's just 16 over 17 to the power of 77. 99% of the time, you get luckier than me. And literally, it's so annoying. And the math majors are going to be like, but he didn't do a binomial with the PDF. And look at all the different other kind of plates that he's p-hack. Shut up, okay? Let me grief in peace. This isn't really in chronological order, but here is the Mesprit capturing the Xerketri that I also found in the Ultra Space. I took it out of chronological order because I wanted the montage to stay in one piece. While I was checking up on my very esteemed motel for my NPCs, a Keldeo spawned in a nearby river biome. So I tracked it down after healing up my team and began the capture of my second legendary. I entered with Torkoal, which is a pretty good 2-pronged sword because Torkoal doesn't do that much damage, so it can kind of whittle down Keldeo. But also, Keldeo does less damage when the sun is out, so that's good. Now, this is skipping to after I whittled down the Keldeo, which was a long and difficult process. I sent out Mesprit and started tossing the Ultra Balls. I had already tossed quite a few balls at the Keldeo, and it has been pretty stubborn so far, but fortunately, it decided to finally enter my team. Remember that previous attempt at creating a house? Well, I decided to tear that down because I thought about the design myself, and I am a horrendous builder. So instead, I went online and did what I do best, copy somebody else's design. So here's me trying to copy that design down. It's a nice, very nice birch house that I wanted to make that with its entrance facing the sea. Got some nice beachside view, and I just hopped right into it. because it's just copying a video, right? It can't be of any difficulty because you just follow what the video does. You can't possibly mess up for something so easy because all the directions are right there in front of you. So I just dove straight into it. A quick intermission as I found this epic Mega Gardevoir boss, and I'm now in the process of taking it down. I first send out Torkoal to set out the sun, which is pretty standard. Then after Torkoal gets knocked out, I switch into Volcarona and one-shot the Mega Gardevoir with a Fire Z move. Anyways, very quick fight, and nice Mega Stone for it. So, if you noticed a slight thing with the frame of the house so far, it might seem that the entrance is faced the wrong way, in fact. So perhaps there was a happy little accident that occurred during the construction of this house. And honestly, how can you even say that I'm at fault for this? This is 100% the video maker's fault. Like how hard is it to make a video that's easy to follow? Huh? This is not my fault. This couldn't be my fault. Fortunately, I learned from my mistakes, and the house building process was nothing but smooth sailing from here. Another quick intermission as I trap a NPC that is level 70 plus into a hole in the ground. And of course, the house building takes second priority to this because it's not every day you find a level 70 trainer. And I had to take advantage of this opportunity to level up my newfound team filled with Ultra Beasts and Legendaries. I don't want to talk about it. I just don't. Also, I don't know what happened to the boss spawn chances, but they must have gone straight up in these couple of days because here is an Audino fight. Right after, there's a Mega Blastoise fight, which was cleaned up pretty quickly by the Kartana with Leaf Blade. And just before these two, we had that Mega Gardevoir fight, which was pretty close to everything. Unfortunately for the local Pokemon population, I has started to run out of Ultra Balls and Dusk Balls. And the only fast way to get those is through buying them from NPCs. And you know how we have to get money.
Then this legendary Mega Blastoise boss showed up and montaged my entire team. Fortunately, after a couple of times of healing my Pokemon and trying again, Kartana was finally able to clutch up and Kelia was able to finish the job on this extremely difficult boss fight. After maybe butchering a slight amount of Pokemon, we had finally gained enough money to acquire the necessary equipment for further Pokemon captures. After beating a bunch of bosses and gaining some very sexy loot, I came back to my not concentration camp to check up on my voluntary NPCs that are residing in this hole that is definitely not overpopulated. I was hoping to find the Dynamax quest, but unfortunately, no luck today, I assume. After a disappointing experience, to say the least, with my NPC friends, I came back to my home base and found this legendary Venusaur boss, which I then defeated and yoinked its Mega Stone. It was pretty easy, given that Volcarona kind of counters Venusaur very hard. A quick lesson on team building: Volcarona sucks with Fire Blast. It's a pretty powerful move with an 85% accuracy, which is absolutely garbage. So here you see me go to the move relearner in the ghost tower we found earlier to teach Volcarona Fiery Dance instead of Fire Blast. Fire Dance hits 100% of the time, has slightly less power, but it is made up for sure in its accuracy. And furthermore, it has the bonus effect of having a 50% chance of raising Volcarona's special attack, which is absolutely crazy. After making this move switch, I immediately decided to test my new Volcarona on the Grass Gym team, and it worked like a charm, absolutely sweeping the team and getting me another forest badge. Now let's take a look at this beautiful winter wonderland, Christmas themed biome.
Look at the pretty snow. Look at the tall trees. And there's even candy cane on the floor. Absolutely. Matt. Surely, I made that MLG.
Of course, I would accommodate for the fact that there is snow on the ground, so the water bucket placed will be much higher than normal. Given that it is pretty clear that I am an expert as MLG and related matters, there's really no need for us to see the rest of the clip. So let's just move on. Don't mind that level drop. I enchanted some stuff. Where's said enchanted stuff?
You know, it's like,
It's a tough economy, so you see all these, right, the needy, and it's like I donated them, right, because I'm such a kind individual, and I didn't really want to mention it, but I don't want people going around saying, oh, he actually died because he didn't make that. I made the emoji, okay? It's just I enchanted some stuff and I gave it away to the very needy NPCs suffering in this very difficult economy, and the fact that anyone would think even remotely otherwise is honestly disappointing. Anyways, while I was hanging out, a Zacian spawned right next to our base, which is quite nice since Zacian is probably one of the most overpowered legendaries in Pixelmon at the moment. Of course, I have Kartana out, which has learned Full Swipe at this moment in time, which is able to get the Zacian down to 1 HP without killing it. Then I decided to toss an Ancient Great Ball to respect the Zacian's heritage, and fortunately that was enough to capture the Zacian. After the addition of another very powerful legendary to the team, I was feeling confident, so I set out to explore the Nether to find the Fire Gem and the Ghost Gem. Unfortunately, the part that I spawned in from the Nether was not particularly welcoming, and I had to fly over way more lava lakes than I am comfortable with, especially considering my past history with flying on mounts. Fortunately, after quite a while searching, I was finally able to find the Fire Gem. And as I walked around, doing great deeds, putting out potential flame sources all around the village, I looked and finally found the Fire Gem. Unfortunately for me, the Fire Gem comes with a number of preliminary trainers that you need to defeat before you can meet the gym leader. And unfortunately, my team, which was specifically tailored for the grass gym, did not accommodate too well to the Fire Gym teams. After getting my butt handed to me in the Fire Gym, I was feeling slightly despaired. I didn't have many days left in the challenge, and I really needed to vastly change my team to beat the Fire Gym, at least in my opinion. Fortunately, when I came back to my villager cave, I was greeted with a very welcoming surprise. The Magenta quest, which allowed Dynamaxing your Pokemon. A glimmer of hope in despair, since I truly thought that I might end the 100 days having defeated a single gym. As I was trapping another trainer in a ditch forever to fulfill my defeating Pokemon portion of the Dynamax quest, a Zamazenta spawned right next to my base, which is the other half of the OP Dog Duel legendaries in Pokemon. I gathered my catching team and began my challenge against the Zamazenta. First, I used Zacian with normal moves because normal moves aren't very effective on the steel type Zamazenta. Then I used their key tree to put the Zamazenta to sleep to increase my catching chances. Then I threw Dusk Balls because it was night, and the very first Dusk Ball resulted in a catch. Luck is truly on my side today. And right after that, look what I found. A level 96 trainer. That is going to be a boatload of EXP. Unfortunately, it spawned a little too far from the base, so I was unable to heal my Pokemon repeatedly and challenge it repeatedly for infinite EXP. In the midst of grinding EXP and catching Pokemon in order to grind for the Fire Gem, I suddenly realized my house is still very much unbuilt, and we are extremely far into the video. So I decided to embark on a quick journey of deforestation, just like how our forefathers intended. And immediately I got to work. Look at how the house is coming along. Definitely 100% my efforts. Definitely didn't yoink the design of a video off YouTube, but don't worry about it. Quick timeout and catching montage as I try to fulfill the catching Pokemon portion of my Dynamax quest. Then I decided to work on interior design, out of all things, for our house, because everything else was basically finished. And don't worry about how I only showed 2 furnaces being placed. I'm certain I worked on interior design later on, and definitely finished the rest of it.
Okay, it's not like we're gonna have guests anyways. There's literally no need for interior design. So it's not really my fault for not doing interior design. It's more like practical, it's like being pragmatical. Because there's really no need for you to put interior design in a house that you'll only be looking at outside. I don't even have time to move all these chests inside, so I won't even be in the house anyways. So why waste time, okay? But don't worry, I definitely did the interior design anyways. Next clip, please.
Hear me out, guys. After spending an inordinate amount of time defeating Pokemon and capturing Pokemon, I was finally able to finish the first phase of the Dynamax quest. I went back to our villager camp and talked to Professor Jon Snow, of all people, and accepted the next portion of the quest. Then I went back to the fire gym to try my luck once more on the gatekeepers of the fire gym. This time, it went a lot better. Zerkitri gets knocked out immediately, but Volcarona comes in and fortunately gets a Quiver Dance in, and Ninetales Hypnosis completely misses, giving Volcarona basically a free chance to power up. I hesitate a little bit, but I'm too scared of trying to roll the dice on Hypnosis again, so on Volcarona I decide to go with Fiery Dance. After one Fire Dance takes down more than half of Ninetales HP, and I continue to Fiery Dance into the Skeledirge when it's switched in. Fiery Dance immediately knocks out the Rotom because of the special attack boost, then OKOs the remaining HP on the Ninetales when it's switched back in. Unfortunately, now Sunny has run out, so Volcarona's Fiery Dance is nerfed in power, somewhat significantly. Now is they send out Houndoom, and I'm a little lost on what to do. Eventually, I go for the Bug Buzz, which would have OKO'd, but unfortunately, Houndoom somehow has a Focus Sash, which allows it to live 1 turn. I send out Kartana, which is so stupid, because Keldeo has Aqua Jet, which is a priority move, and then I send a Pheromosa, which is, wow, this is a disaster. Anyways, I send out Zacian, and Chandelure doesn't use a fire move because it's too scared of the I don't know why I didn't use a fire move. I guess thank you AI for being stupid. And then I send out Keldeo after getting my Zacian knocked out, and decided to hit it with a Z move, Hydro Pump, which knocks it out. Then I decide to go for a Secret Sword since Embar is fire and dark, which means fighting types is super effective. I send in Pheromosa once again with the Choice Scarf and a quick low kick, defeats the gym. Or not the gym, the preliminary gatekeeper. Hopefully the gym goes a little smoother than that. After healing up my Pokemon, I finally arrive at the gym room. The gym starts off with a Charizard, which is already kind of tough because Volcarona has nothing against Charizard since Bug Buzz gets diffed. I decide to send in Zerkitri to tank so I can switch into something else. And please don't switch into Keldeo because currently it's sunny and Keldeo is not going to do anything. Unfortunately, Zacian still has its default sword item, which turns it into a steel type after the first move, which is probably not ideal against the Fire Gym. Fortunately, the Charizard misses his Fire Blast, so Zacian kind of just has a free kill on the Charizard. Volcanion gets switched in and OKs the Zacian with a fire move, which is not particularly surprising. I send in Kartana because I know it's quick, even though Keldeo does. Well, I guess, never mind, Keldeo would have worked in this case, but Kartana is fast, it outspeeds the Volcanion and finishes it off. Next, the NPC sends out Skeledirge, and I decide that it's probably not good to let somebody else tank the hit, so I just let Kartana die in this fight. It's not going to be particularly useful anyways because Kartana is 4x weak to fire, so not the greatest Pokemon to be bring to fire gyms. Next, I send out our trusty old Volcarona. Start off with a Quiver Dance, which it's a must, right? Fortunately, the Skeledirge decides to heal with Slack Off, even though it took like less than 20% damage, which, thank you, NPC, for making it easy for me. I go for another Quiver Dance because I realize it's probably not going to do that much damage. And with the additional special defense from the Quiver Dance, it was not enough to save Volcarona at all. Apparently, the Shadow Ball is way too strong. I decide to go for Hydro Pump, which kills the Skeledirge. Then I hit it with a Z move, Hydro Pump, which kills the Incineroar. I hit it with another Hydro Pump. These Hydro Pumps just keep hitting, and the Hydro Pump beats the entire... What? Well, I guess the Fire Gym went a lot smoother than the preliminary gym leader. After flying around, exploring every inch of the nether, I was finally able to find a ghost gem with mere days left in the challenge. And in these remaining days, I would have to seize every moment to try to defeat the ghost gem. But before I do that, I decided to come back, defeat the trainers that was necessary to finally complete the Dynamax quest, which will give me a massive edge in the ghost gym fight. And you can see I am thinking about nothing but the gym fight because I immediately killed that Bulbasaur that spawned, even though I do not have a Bulbasaur, and they're actually quite rare. Unfortunately, that happens, but more fortunately, I finally am able to obtain my Dynamax ban and got enough EXP to push me to level 46. So that's nice too. I actually struggle a lot with figuring out how the Dynamax ban works, and I finally realized you can't have Mega Evolution and Dynamax ban at the same time, actually. So, lesson learned. And this Deerling, unfortunately, gets hit with a Max Lightning, being the very first experimentee of my Dynamax experience. After obliterating that deer to the next dimension, I decided I was ready to challenge the gym leader. I sent in Zerkitri, hits Giratina with a paralysis, which honestly is Zerkitri doing its job because it wasn't that strong of a Pokemon anyways. I send in Zacian. The NPC then switches to Chandelier, but fortunately Zacian has Crunch, so that OKOs the Chandelier. Then it sends out Dragapult, which I'm not sure why I'm switching out because I'm pretty sure Zacian can tank. Oh, Dragapult has Fire Blast. That makes sense. Keldeo goes with Hydro Pump, which breaks the Mimikyu's decoy. It decides to go with... Keldeo gets destroyed by the Mimikyu because apparently Play Rough is just that strong. Mimikyu does not have that much attack, by the way. I guess Keldeo just has the HP of a 4-year-old. I don't know what's going on there. Anyways, Zacian comes in, Crunch, kills the Mimikyu. Easy. Sends it Dragapult again. I know Dragapult is faster, and Dragapult has Fire Blast, so I can either risk getting the Zacian killed, which would be really unfortunate because Zacian is a very strong carry, and I do go for the risk, and it fails, as expected, honestly. I go with Volcarona, I give it a Quiver Dance, and it switches to Giratina, which gives Volcarona a free Quiver Dance, which is great. I think about Dynamaxing here, and I do, going for the Max Flare, which gives the Sunny territory, which gives a 50% boost in the already very strong Max Flare. And that is able to sweep the rest of the team, if I recall correctly. No Pokemon is able to withstand the wrath of Volcarona under Sun with its already pseudo-legendary stats boosted way high up. And with that, I obtained my final badge, the Ghost Gem badge. Fortunately, with that, our journey in Pixelmon nears its conclusion. I spent the plates I received in the Ultra Space for a flute. With my flute and this Arceus Temple, I am able to summon the god of all Pokemon for me to capture. Except I completely got it wrong.
and tried to click in the wrong place, which is so on brand for this journey. But eventually, after consulting the wiki and just a tad of panicking, I was able to spawn it and initiating my fight with Arceus. I hit Sword Stance for Kartana, so I can hit it with an extra hard false swipe. After hitting it with a couple of false swipes, Arceus, the god of all Pokemon, ends up with a single HP left. After that, I reached into my bag for the very last time and pulled out a Dusk Ball. 1, 2, oh, whoops. I don't know why this is becoming really dragged out. Actually, we go for Hypnosis. No, it misses. My bad. It hits on the second time. And we go with the Dusk Ball once again. Now with the boosted catch chance of sleep. 1, 2, 3, and Arceus, please. Can I just have like a good ending here instead of a dragged on fight to capture? But oh my. Okay. Again, let's start now. Wait, it woke. Okay. Well, Thunder Wave also, it's not as good as Sleep, but it also increases the chance of catching. Now 1, 2, and 3. Why is this so long? I thought it was like the first. Okay, I don't know what this is. What? With that, the god of Pokemon now rests within my PC, rests within my team.
As if on cue, the sun began to rise, and the adventure ends as it began. A brand new day in a brand new world. If you like this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It's just one click for you, but it means the whole world to me. Thank you. Bye.